Hello and welcome to the WIP, the What If podcast that's a work in progress. I am your host, the Caramelicious, the Slim James. I'm going to claim a verbal trademark on that right now, an adjective meaning full of caramel. The reality is I don't think any candy bar companies are going to come calling because the word caramelicious kind of sounds like the word malicious, so I don't know that you'd want that in a candy. But today, obviously, we are discussing the great debate. What's better, Cadbury caramel eggs or Cadbury cream eggs? Clearly, Cadbury cream eggs are not only one of my favorite candies, but possibly one of my favorite foods. They are the obvious winner, that you can't go wrong with the original. Hello. Even though the Cadbury cream eggs are my favorite candy, though, I realize that they managed to exceed their own density in sugar. They somehow managed to pack about 28 grams of sugar in like a 14-gram candy. Even as a kid, that I knew just how chock full of sugar they were. I'd never eat even more than one in like a sitting, you know? Like, I know my limits. It feels like my teeth are going to fall out if I eat more than one. But Easter candy discussion aside, this is the What If podcast, and we are usually a roundup of Marvel's What If comics, using that as a platform for general comic talk. But this week is the week 3 of Marvel's What If month, where they are releasing a What If Age of Ultron 5-part miniseries, although they're 5 one-shots, not actually a continuing book. So this week is week 3. What If Age of Ultron Thor? So what if Thor never existed or died suddenly? Because the reality is when these people die, it's not like they never existed, it's like they died suddenly at a point in time, which I thought because they're going back in time and killing somebody, I don't know how that'd work, but I digress. The cover for this is okay. It's the same sort of style and color scheme as the other two. I guess it's okay if it's part of a set. Ultron is choking Thor. Now, granted, in the great tradition of comic book covers that have nothing to do with what's going on inside, Ultron and Thor will not be appearing in this issue. So we open with the same time intro / recap from the Age of Ultron, where Tony Stark warns not to go back and mess with time too much, lest you break it. Always a good idea. Thor is wiped from the whole timeline thing while battling evil giant dragon Jorumgand, or Jorumgand. Yes, Jorumgand, I guess. According to the Marvel Wiki, he's the Midgard serpent. The long and short of it is he plays Voldemort to Thor's Harry Potter. So one will live while the other dies. Or one must die for the other to live. You know, whole thing. Thor is prophesied to die by its hands. So in this go-round, Jorumgand has taken the form of Fin Fang Foom, which I had to look up because in the book it's not really clear, and he definitely looks like Fin Fang Foom. And I'm like, hey, Fin Fang Foom, but they're calling him Jorumgand, or Jorumgand, all that jazz. Fin Fang, we'll just call him Fin Fang Foom Deluxe. But yeah, Jorumgand in the physical form of Fin Fang Foom, with his Frost Giants in tow, is attacking. But Thor is wiped from reality. So we have no more Thor. And we jump ahead a month, and the Frost Giants and Jorumgand have taken over the Earth, essentially. Nick Fury, white Nick Fury, since that's a delineation that needs to be made nowadays. That sounded more racist than I intended. It's just, you know, there was old Nick Fury, some white guy with Mr. Fantastic sideburns, and then there's Samuel L. Fury. So this one's old school Nick Fury. He's leading a pack of defenders at Castle Doom, the last respite of humanity. His flock includes Silver Sable, and then Falcon and Black Widow, which, you know, Nick Fury, Falcon, Black Widow. Is there a coincidence these characters being included with the release of Captain America, the Winter Soldier? Probably not. You know, you gotta give your characters a push, some love. Make sure they're in the main event. So clearly the What If number 3 is the main event. Boy. And also there is Microchip, who is Punisher's weapon guy. Was he Newman in the movies? I think. Yeah. Nick Fury talks to Microchip about like Uru bullets, which is a kind of weird concept. Can we see that? That would be kind of a thought. A Thor Punisher mashup, an amalgam, if you would, or maybe a Thor Punisher crossover. I don't know that they've had many epic battles. Mostly because, you know, Thor would just smack him with the hammer and he's dead now. We also see that the Avengers are all dead. But Nick Fury suspects Thor wasn't actually killed by this big giant dragon, but by some other force because of the way things are behaving. So we see Black Widow act all reckless and jump into the fray with all these frost giants, and Microchip's like, "Oh my God, she's crazy," and Nick Fury's like, "Nah, the girl." It's I know those aren't words, but meh. So eventually they decide to load up on Doctor Doom's weapons from Castle Doom and make one last push to kill Jorumgand or Jorgamund or Gargamel, Gilgamesh. So that includes taking swarms of robots and using Doctor Doom's time travel device, which, by the way, doesn't time travel. I think is that broken because of what happened in the past with the Age of Ultron crossover. I think so. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Point is, the time travel piece of Doctor Doom's time machine doesn't work, but the teleportation piece does. So they teleport swarms of Doom bots to battle a big giant dragon and some frost giants. So there's your high-flying comic book sci-fi action. The Black Widow, Natasha, dives in once again, this time to retrieve Mjolnir, which has stood where it fell since Thor's death. She picks it up and becomes Black Widow Thor, complete with sexy revealing loincloth and terrifyingly gigantic thighs. She actually kind of reminds me of Red Sonja, I guess. I mean, I'm just sort of going off the top of my head or something. But it just brings up a good question. When people pick up Thor's hammer, why do some get a costume change and some don't? Like, I feel like I thought I remembered, like, Captain America picking it up once, and there was no, like, costume change. He was just holding it. And, like, Loki, I think, is, like, picked it up and just held it. But then other people get, like, a costume change. Like Black Widow here. I know in the Marvel versus DC, I think Wonder Woman picked it up and she had a special headdress on after. But yeah, so it's just sort of one of those comic book logic things. When we decide that they're getting a costume change, they're getting a costume change. And also brings up another point. Would we see anyone else pick up Thor's hammer in the Avengers movies coming forward? Or maybe even in, like, Thor 3? It would be a good scene for, like, Age of Ultron. If we have, like, Hulkbuster Iron Man, we could have Captain America Thor, who's looking all regal. There's a new toy for you. So, as to quote McDonald's, hey, it could happen. McWorld! And, I've been talking about the Age of Ultron in this series of what ifs, and I haven't actually talked about Ultron himself. So, with my helpful friend Marvel Wikia for some specifics, here's a little piece of Ultron history. First appeared in Avengers 54, 1968. I remember he was I don't remember from reading it, but, things I've seen. He looks like a trash can with tiny little arms. Beep, boop, beep. He's a sentient robot who quickly becomes the living definition of misanthropy. I'll leave it at that. He quickly takes a humanoid form, in the irony of ironies. You would decry humanity, but you like our arms and thumbs pretty well, don't you? Yeah, so he's gone through numerous iterations over the years, adamantium body, etc. But he looks relatively similar. The Ultron mouth that kind of looks like a jack-o'-lantern, red eyes, maybe some pointy antennae sticking off the side of his head. All good. Of course, there was also six-armed ultimate super-duper Ultron Deluxo in the Age of Ultron. And it says he was apparently killed in Age of Ultron number 10, but I'm willing to bet that when the Age of Ultron movie comes out, we might see some Ultron appearance back in comic books. I'm just saying, like with the Falcon and the Black Widow and Nick Fury in this. Obviously, if you have a movie with the villain, you'd want to give him some press in the comic books. But that's just me being skeptical. That's not even skeptical. It's just, the way it is. I don't take these stories so seriously because if you look at them linearly, it doesn't really hold up. There's a lot of stuff going on over the course of 50 some odd years, hitting 60 years pretty soon. If they want to reintroduce Ultron, more power to them. As we've already seen, death doesn't really mean a lot in comic books, especially for a robot who's already died about 30 or 40 times, it seems like, and he just comes back as Ultron version 6 or 7 or 26. So, in regards to this issue, overall, I'd say it's a so-so. The art's not bad. The story's okay, but there's nothing really exciting. They go around. They don't even really have huge battles against Frost Giants. They're just sort of hanging out, killing time. Then we get the reveal of Black Widow Thor. I guess that's cool, but it I don't know. It just lacks a certain oomph. But that's just me. Still, I've seen worse. So, with that being said, I'll just wish you a happy Easter and go find that Cadbury cream egg and don't eat too many at once. So, in closing, I will remind you to follow us on Twitter at the Slim James or at giant_size, theslimjames.com, giantsizeComicThings.com. The WIP What If podcast is on iTunes, on Stitcher, on YouTube, and on Vimeo. So go out there and find us. And remember, don't spend the rest of your life asking, what if?